Welcome to the Deutschland Masters Racing Club International's current Monday Championship. I'm John Dalton, your lead commentator for this thrilling 5-round series, joined alongside by Callum Kerrigan. This championship celebrates cutting-edge German GT3 machinery from Audi, BMW, Mercedes and Porsche, and the season begins and ends at the iconic Nürburgring. But tonight, join us as we head stateside to the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas for round 3. A big shout out to Jesse Lee, bringing you all the pictures behind the cameras. And of course, a warm welcome to our live stewarding team, ensuring fair play throughout the season. Buckle up, sit back and enjoy the ride, because it's already been a fantastic championship, Callum, with Marco Badowski leaping ahead, bounds on the points. 2-round victories already to his name. Can he make it a third here tonight?
Good afternoon, John. Good afternoon, Jesse, everyone on YouTube and Twitch, and our live stewards, and welcome to what we can only presume will be another incredible round of this Monday Championship. Round 1, we saw fights up and down the field for the the Nürburgring crown, and then we went to Zolder in round 2, which we thought would calm down a little bit, but how wrong we were. A little bit of sprinkle of rain in there, and we had a race for the absolute ages. What will COTA deliver? Well, I'm expecting exactly the same. These guys are up for the fight, although I feel like we're going to have the added complexity of maybe a couple of drive-throughs. COTA is notorious for track limits here, where people could be pushing to the absolute limit. Consistency may be the difference between a win or a loss here today.
Yeah, COTA always one of those circuits that, it does lend drivers to be a bit greedy on the track limits. Of course, a famous modern-day Tilke circuit. Lots of colourful runoff areas, not too much grass and gravel in places, which means, of course, a lot of racing drivers will be pushing the envelope today. Vlad Will, currently in the number 18 Almania Aachen eSports car, already towards the front end of the grid, just behind Nico Kumpu in the number 18, looking very confident as he comes towards the line, narrows the gap somewhat to the number 256 at the top. Teammate Tobias Sontag behind as well in the 223, and a third car in the form of Honsel in P5 as well. So it looks like a very commanding lockout at the front for those boys. Of course, Nico Kumpu last time, Callum, put it on pole, disconnected before the grid phase made, but still came back and took fastest lap for some bonus points for his assault towards Badowski. And Marco Badowski currently not seeing him on the timing tower with a valid lap, unless, nope, Jesse Lee points out there, P7 currently for the Team Monkey racing car, and he crosses the line. No, it was a small improvement there, 206.430, first lap on the board, but a second away already from Nico Kumpu. 5 minutes left in the session. Has Badowski got enough in him to take himself towards the front row of the grid?
Well, John, I was watching these guys during the practice, and it does seem like BMWs are looking particularly strong today, but I did see some laps in there from Badowski that was still teetering him towards the end of the table. So it may be slightly harder for him to get the 3 in a row here today, but that's not something I'd ever put past him. He's been driving absolutely phenomenally this race. But going on to the cars that we do have a customized BOP in place. Audi is sitting on 9 kilos, BMW with 2, Merc with 3, and a moment of silence please for our Porsche drivers. 30 kilos of ballast in that Porsche. Not quite deterring Nico Kumpu right now. He's sitting top of the timing sheets, but what that could do to his tyres later on in the race could be absolutely detrimental to his charge. Obviously, with that disconnect in round 2, he did fight all the way back to P25, I believe, which is sitting in P7 in the championship. It could be another tough one for him if his tyres drop off, but right now it looks like he has the pace to take that fight to Badowski.
Yeah, of course, lots of drivers at the moment wanting to try and snatch some points away from Marco Badowski already with a commanding lead in points, scored 69 points at both round 1 and round 2, putting him on a total of 138. And for comparison, the nearest driver in the championship standings, Tom Shipston, on 79 points. So nobody even into the hundreds of points other than this man on your screen at the moment, Marco Badowski, already up through sector 1 and 2, launches himself out of the last corner. 20 turns here today at COTA, and across the line puts himself towards the second row of the grid with a very, very small margin between himself, Vlad Will, and Nico Kumpu towards the top. So I think Badowski's maybe going to have another lap or two in himself as we jump on board here with Christian Lindgren, instantly going invalid. Knows he has done already. Back to the pit lane. Fresh set of boots, a small fuel load, and probably back to it to see if you can get an outlap done and drilled in. But I think he is cutting it very fine, Callum. It's a long outlap here, of course, at COTA. 2 minutes 5 of a lap time for Nico Kumpu, and by the time you get out, I don't think Christian Lindgren will go again. So the first driver locked into the pit lane, P9, Christian Lindgren at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be tough to go out on a fresh set of boots now, not because, you know, they're not capable and they haven't got the pace, but it's a 16-degree sort of track temperature at the minute. It's also 3 a.m. It's going to take 1 or 2 laps really to really bring those tyres up. We saw it with Badowski, his first lap, a second off the pace. His second lap jumps all the way up into P3. Really, you want to be going out early on an early set of tyres and just bringing in that tyre temperature and bringing in the confidence is what people are going to want to see on this much colder circuit. As we're on board here with Peter Lundqvist coming into this sort of tight, twisty section into turn 15, you know, very reminiscent of the double left-hander we see in Bahrain. The Sochi big left-hander here, so that's turns 16, 17 and 18 going into turn 19. This is where we're going to see the most amount of validations. It's such a fast corner, and you just tiptoe yourself just over that white line, and boom, that's an invalidation. It looks like he kept it within limits, breaking in for turn 20. He is up on his delta. Where is he going to end up as he puts his foot firmly to the floor, jumps up to P8, a wonderful lap there by Peter Lundqvist.
Yeah, Peter Lundqvist coming in kind of leaps and bounds from when we first saw him in the Porsche 992 Cup Series, and commenting earlier yesterday, in fact over the weekend I think, he was hoping to just get reasonable pace, currently in the low 208s was his words in the Discord, and already last lap of course down to a 206, so maybe talking about race pace there, but certainly faster than what he was anticipating, and commenting that he feels like Bambi on ice on this track. So maybe the BMW looks confident, Callum, in the table of standings towards the left, but quite possibly one of those cars you've really got to hustle round to get the most out of it. Nico Kumpu locked to the pit lane. He'll take no further part in the qualification. Vlad Will also joins him. So the only people that can upset currently, Marco Badowski, Tobias Sontag still circulating around as well, and this man here, Joe Dorber, normally a regular within our YouTube chat when he's not racing, long-standing member within the RCI community, already slips down to P6 as Andy Boardman goes up to P4 just behind Marco Badowski. Greased Weasel racing car 205.852, and he's able to go for another lap. And of course the track status top right hand side is fast. There's still some grip to find as Marcus Honsel now beats Andy Boardman down the list. Olivier Curtin finishes, locks himself in, as well as Lily Armstrong, Les Stevenson and Christian Klipper. Joe Dorber in the 777 to the line. He puts himself onto the second row of the grid. That's a fantastic time there. Tobias Sontag equally for the Almania Aachen Esports entry, the 223 over the sausage curbs. That's going to hamper some progress over the line. It was an invalidation, or lost a bit of time actually. 205.9. He will go no further up the list, and Andy Boardman still on a valid lap. A little bit of traffic ahead, Callum, but if anybody can upset that front end of the grid, it will be this man here.
Yeah, and Andy Boardman just sort of timed that last lap almost perfectly, just crossing the line just before we ticked over to 0. So he will have the best track conditions. He just needs to hook this up together as best as he can. So I believe he is up on his delta now, just coming into the twisty sections. This is where he can either make or break his lap. Jesse Lee telling me that he might have just invalidated his lap, meaning that is the top 5 we have. And once again, 3 manufacturers in the top 3 as Phil Roberts now crosses the line, currently sitting in P17. Is he going to improve? Jumps up to P15, 1.1 seconds off pole in that incredible orange arrows livery. That's definitely a favourite of mine, John.
Yeah, Kaiju always with the brilliant liveries. We say this on most broadcasts, but they're always a parody of a real-life livery. The sponsors tweak somewhat. So from afar, definitely looks like an Aris car. Up close, you'll notice all the differences as Nicholas Nordqvist comes towards the line. Good late improvement there. P10, just inside the top 10 there. And immediately a great showing within qualifying. Not one driver getting all 3 of the fastest sectors. And 3 fastest sectors, Callum, going to 3 different manufacturers as well. Even with the 30 kilos on board, Nico Kumpu still snatching fastest Sector 3.
Yeah, I think that's the 3rd race in a row that we've had the 3 purple sectors by 3 different drivers, if I'm not mistaken. Again, just showing how good, well, how strong and tight this field is, but also just how good this balanced performance is that we have in this, well, in this sort of this league, sorry, that we have on Mondays, and especially at COTA. Once again, Porsche, BMW and Audi seem to be taking the top spots. We won't go down all the way until I think it's Emo Plata in the Mercedes for the first Mercedes in the running.
Yeah, so a good mix of manufacturers in the race, and certainly even the 30 kilos not able to stop Nico Kumpu from taking pole. BMW looking fairly commanding as well, a brick of Porsches throughout the midfield with lots of BMWs sprinkled in between. As you said, Emo Plata, P20, the only Mercedes. The second Audi we see is Yao Manzo all the way down in P22, and then lots of a mixture just towards the back end of the field. We spoke about it earlier, but of course, Marco Badowski is your man to beat coming into this round, an early commanding championship lead, and that's exactly what we're seeing on your screens at the moment. A whopping 138 points just from 2 rounds alone here sets him up well for the short 5-round championship. Tom Shipston, next closest competitor with 79 points, followed by Lily Armstrong with 78. Yao Manzo creeping inside the top 5 with 77, and just behind Emo Plata with 76. Young Olivier Curtin with 71. Nico Kumpu on 70. Christian Lindgren on 65, tied with Peter Lundqvist. Another battle of the Swedes, as we always see on Mondays. And Marcus Honsel rounds out your top 10 with 64 points. And it's quite a long read here today. I think some 30 plus drivers, maybe even tipping the 40s now to get through. So Andy Boardman with 58 points, Tobias Sontag on 53. Aaron Jackson, Mike Redford separated by a point, and Nicholas Nordqvist followed closely by Theobald Roskam. Christian Clipper and Phil Roberts, 2 points separate them. Ted Ers just a point behind, and the Roker Poker himself, Les Stevenson, with 23 points, sneaks just inside the top 20. As we move on to page 3, Daniel Crinzen on 23, Rudy Philmalter, a friend of Les Stevenson, on 21. So battle for honours probably going on down that end of the field. Ollie Mulder tied with Peter Varga on 19 points apiece. Richard Withell on 16. Partez on 15. Julian Kers on 13. Martin Foster on 10. Neil Pimlott with 9. And the second even of the Withels, Keith Withell with 7 points, rounds out the top 30. And even more drivers to come. Nicole Fox also on 7 points. Bruno Teixeira tied with Eric Hooker on 5. Filippo Biamonte on 3. Kevin Boss, who's cooked up this championship, on 2. Matthias Byron with a singular point. Scott Lawson, Victor Nordqvist, sister entry of Teixeira, and Vlad Will yet to score a point. And I think even another page coming at you, Joe Dorber, with 0 points. Everybody else has signed out and will take no further part in the championship, and 4 sign-outs. That's an all-time low, I would say, so far for RCI on Mondays. Just under 2 minutes to go till the grid gets underway, Callum. And, you know, we've got Kumpu at the front. Touch wood. He stays in for the green flag. Vlad Will, bit of a dark horse. First round they've signed up to in this championship. Of course, teammates with Honsel and Sontag. So could we see a little bit of team orders going on, working together, holding up cars, fighting maybe unnecessarily to bring their teammates into the mix? Tom Shipston, of course, second in the championship. He starts down in P9, and a relatively quiet race for Shipston. If you remember last time out, Zolder pitted very early, cleared the mandatory pit stop off, and just got his head down, nailed into the game, and got those laps underway, and just kept circulating. And it's managed to get him a good result so far. So lots of good names in the field, Callum. I think my money's going to be on Nico Kumpu, but do not take your eyes off Will and, of course, Badowski on the second row of the grid.
Well, I said it in round one. I'm an Audi fanboy for the season, so naturally I probably lean towards Badowski. But yeah, I'm gonna lean towards Will. I think first race, mid-season sign up, he's gonna get it. I know those BMWs are strong in the race. And yeah, I just believe. I don't know what else to say, John. I do want to also point out it's nice to see, Honsel and Sontag fairly new to the RCI community. I think this is the first sort of league that we've put on that I've seen them in. They've clearly enjoyed themselves. They've had some wonderful results, and they're starting to invite more members of their team along, like Vlad will. Probably not too happy that he's out-qualified them in the first round that he's joined them in, but that's really touching to see. We will go to, I guess, the standard segment, the Callum theorising around strategy and what I would do in these situations, but we do have a 57-minute pit window, 1 litre of fuel required. It's a cold track. Some cars are very heavy and going to utilise a lot of tyre here, but also it's very, Sector 1 is very single file. Sector 2 and Sector 3, that's where you'll start seeing the overtakes. It's very high risk, high reward on the track limits, so some people could be, taking back 10-20%. So I really think you're going to see a lot of varied strategy here of people wanting to get in clear air, not worry about the car ahead of them, and just keep it within the white lines, because I do think this may come down to who is pushing the most and who makes those minor errors.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. The aim of COTA is, of course, you want that clear air to kind of run in solo. You don't want to be getting tied up in unnecessary fights, like you say, turn 1 up the hill, big braking zone, nice and wide as you go into it, but pinches right into the apex and catches a lot of drivers out, even in real life and in ACC. So hopefully everybody can get through that turn at least. That's the first thing you've got to do here at COTA. Once that's ticked off, like you say, down into single file for the S's through turns 2 all the way up to turn 10. Turn 11, the hairpin before the back straight, of course, classic passing place if you can get a run through 10. All the way down the back straight towards turn 12, another good passing place, but equally switchback nature. Turn 13, 14 and 15 can get very scrappy if someone wants to make that move, signed, sealed and delivered. 16, 17 and 18, like we say, long right-hander, single file again. 19, maybe you might get a lunge or two down there. Turn 20, again, a very good kind of like passing place, late on the brakes, open up the door down there as well. And then, of course, hamper their run down towards turn 1, so you don't have to mount such a solid defense. But back to your point, keeping it clean, keeping it within the white lines is going to be key, as we see so many penalties given out here at COTA, let alone in the endurance races. We sometimes see multiple of the same car coming down the pit lane time and time again. Drivers are coming down towards turn 12. We're just over halfway through the formation lap. Like Callum said, very cold here today. Weather widget, top right-hand side of the screen. 17 degrees in the air, 17 degrees down on the track surface. So getting heat into these Pirellis will be key. Lots of brake ducts being closed up, I can only imagine, and pressures being pumped up that little bit more than maybe what they're used to here today. Bottom left-hand side of your screen, you'll see our partners revolving around in a loop. Very nice graphic now provided to us from Ryan Gill. You might notice a few new names on there as well. Alongside AK Esports, of course, our server providers here. We also have Coach Dave Delta. Faster lap times, of course, start with Delta. A setup and data analysis app for iRacing, ACC, LMU, and even Gran Turismo 7. Available in 9 languages, giving you access to setups, racing lines and data analysis why not stay ahead of your rivals with Delta? Green Man Gaming, of course, a great place you can buy games and keys, get the best prices, awesome bundles, and exclusive game deals daily. We have an affiliate link down below. And IMB Racewear for providing fully custom designs. Also partnering our esports series as well. Moser Racing, again, another affiliate link down below, and also Motorsport UK Esports for becoming a recommended community. And that just about gets everyone out of the way for the beginning of the race here at the Circuit of Americas. A big, long uphill run. You can see the incline from the camera here at the final corner, how much the cars have to climb. Cars in the background weaving, trying to generate that last little bit of temperature into the tires as we wait for the green light to go, and we are away. Nico Kumpu towards the right hand side of your screen, newcomer Vlad Will towards the left. Cars fan out 3-4 wide, sometimes in the background. Kumpu covers off the inside line nicely. Will has to go the long way around. There's a car turned, it's Biamonte already to driver's left. Hopefully I'm not unsighted. See about Roscam, I think, collected in the mess as well as a Mercedes towards the back end of the grid. I think it's Martin Foster maybe involved in that one. Kevin Boss, actually. It's Kevin Boss, well spotted by our broadcaster Jesse Lee. The front kind of top 20 have broken away, but Roscam immediately back to the pit lane. Kevin Boss as well, the last car running in the field at the moment. There's another yellow flag out for the 111 through sector 3. Olivia Curtin maybe caught up in something. It's Scott Lawson, actually. Jesse Lee feeding me lies into my ears. So Lonze Motorsport gets back underway in the 111. That's going to upset. You can already see kind of maybe suffering some damage, struggling to get the car turned, staying out of the way of Kevin Boss. But meanwhile, race leader Nico Kumbu has broken away somewhat, but the BMW is coming down the straight into the slipstream, tries to size up the move. Kumpu covers off the inside, late on the brakes, but way too late. He's gone straight on, Callum. He sailed off into a different zip code. Vlad Will goes through, but I think equally Vlad Will was late on the brakes, but maybe not as late, as Badowski now finds his way around the outside. Teammate Joe Dorber also making the jump, and in the background I think that could be Sontag in the yellow and white car just ahead of Andy Boardman. It is indeed. Nope, Tobias Sontag, sorry, further back, so it's Honzel in the number 35. So the Almania Aachen Esports cars slightly split over the field at the moment, but we could probably see them coming into fruition. And just about one lap done here at the Circuit of the Americas. A chaotic start, as we predicted, with the pinch point of turn 1, and Tom Shipston, as he did last week, immediately pills into the pit lane.
Tom Shipston learning from the Zolder's successes and going straight into the pit. He's like, oh, there's been a bit of drama in this lap. I don't want any part of it. Let's run my own race. And judging by what I'm seeing going into the pit lane, look at all those cars just bleeding into that early pit stop. But going back to lap 1, we see it time and time again at COTA. It goes wide and closes up rapidly. We can see 3, 4, sometimes even 5 wide into that T1. It closes up and condenses into T2 and into that slalom section. Cars are just going to come together, and it's so unfortunate for the guys sort of in the mid-pack there, and for Kevin Boss, who looks like he couldn't even avoid it there. It's just part and parcel of what we see at COTA time and time again. But that incident with Kumpu, John, it looked like Vlad Will and Kumpu just sort of went side by side into turn 12 and sort of went, I'm not braking until you're braking. It's just sort of almost had that mentality. Both of them went straight on. Kumpu more so. Vlad was lucky to get back on the circuit and not get passed and overtaken for P3 or fall back into P3 or P4 there. Either way, if that's the precedent for the rest of the race, I mean, we're in for another treat here, John.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was that classic game of chicken, wasn't it? It was like, well, I'm not going to brake until you've broken. And neither of them broke in time. Nico Kumpu, of course, with the added ballast of the 30 kilos the Porsche has received here. Of course, the BMW slightly lighter, only 2 kilos added on to that one. So Vlad Will being able to actually stop the car versus Nico Kumpu definitely struggled to get that thing pulled up. I think Jesse Lee has gone back through the archive and found some race replays to try and decipher what actually happened during all all of the chaos. And first up, I think we've got a replay with Les Stevenson here, coming into turn 1 onto the inside line. The blue Porsche in the middle, kind of argy-bargy, elbows out for space. That's into Peter Varga, and just about avoided all of the chaos that unfolded behind. And instantly, Les Stevenson, of course, came into the pit lane to take his mandatory stop, so shuffles him out into some nice clean air, Callum. Nobody really ahead, and certainly nobody behind Les Stevenson at the moment. Another race replay, this time Marcus Honzel and Tobias Sontag, teammates there on the inside, yellow, black and white BMWs. A little bit of a bump front to rear, and I think Biamonte there gets turned by one of the Almania Aachen Esports entries, possibly Sontag, because he was the last one on the road in running order. Essentially, Richard Withall here apparently on the overlay, but I think that's definitely not Withall. Boardman and Sontag, I think, in together there through turn 2. That was a bit of a pinch from both BMWs, and everybody really is just vying for that track space through turn 1. So here is Theobald Roskam, yellow and green Porsche, absolutely into the front of Biamonte, parked sideways across Kevin Boss's nose, and Kevin with nowhere to go, sorry, as Theobald Roskam straight into the pit lane. And you see here a faithful of Theobald Roskam on Kevin Boss, and not enough lock in the car to get around Roskam, so unfortunately an additional bump was delivered. But Boss back underway, Roskam into the pit lane. I think that's day done for now, Callum. Not the ideal start that you certainly want, even with an hour on the clock. That big hit, it's going to be hard to come back from.
No, not an ideal start at all. It just seemed like K-Boss just didn't really have the vision to see that ahead of him. You know, you got cars complete in front of you. All of a sudden, a car peels to the right, and you've got a Porsche in your way. Goes straight to the side of the Porsche. Very unfortunate there by Kevin Boss. Running on board with the leaders here, with seeing the rear of Vlad Will. Joe Dorber currently with the fastest lap, so hunting down that other BMW. Badowski 1.1 seconds back with Kumpu right on his heels. He wants to climb back to that lead as soon as he can, but Badowski knows that Kumpu's one of his main rivals. He's not going to let this go easy, but it does seem like the BMWs just have the legs at this phase of the race. So is Joe Dorber going to be able to catch up to Vlad Will, or is he just going to run away with this? He needs to, you know, it's that cat and mouse game. You don't want to push too much, because we really could be running into track limits here. As we go back board with the race replay, I believe, with Jackson and really Phil Moulton. This is coming into sort of that twisty section we were talking about. Really makes a bit of a dive on Jackson there, a little bit of door banging, coming around sort of T15 there. That's going to be one from the stewards. I think the stewards have a fairly busy lap 1 there, John. I have a feeling we won't be getting some steward reports for a little while in this race.
Yeah, I can only agree with you there, Callum. A slightly smaller team than what we're used to here on Mondays as well. So certainly with their work cut out down in the stewards' room. So we'll keep you updated with anything we get brought up here in the booth, and hopefully they can pick their way through those opening laps, because that was some chaos. And I always say this, but I'm glad I'm this side of the broadcast room, and certainly not over in the in the stewards' room, because that's going to be some hard decisions to make. Tobias Sontag, he's hunting down currently the back of Nicholas Nordquist. A bit of a timing gate bug on the left-hand side. That should update as they head through a sector gate. And I think another race replay coming from Jackson and Redford. This time more Porsche paint being traded, and Jackson is the car behind currently. Redford looks like he goes a bit too deep, struggles to scrub some speed to make the apex, and then Jackson carries far too much speed, as you'd kind of expect coming into that corner. Maybe certainly looked like he was making the apex, and suddenly Mike Redford just couldn't get back underway, as we see a yellow flag out for Andy Boardman in the number 69 Greased Weasel entry. We're about to come across it here with Aaron Jackson. He's parked on the pit entry slip road. Something's happened to Boardman. Big front end damage. Goes for the pit lane, goes to the wrong side of the pole and comes back across. I'm not sure if that does count in ACC. It does, with the small white P next to his name as he peels down the lane. Andy Boardman, let's catch a replay here. I think he's already retired, left the server, because this certainly isn't Andy Boardman's car we're looking at the moment. That's that's P19, Julian Kurz, I think. Here's Andy Boardman now, actually. Jesse Lee finding. So through the triple right-hander, essentially, it's all going to happen into turn 19. Nobody really near Callum, so this could be a very rare mistake from Andy Boardman as he comes into the corner, runs across the exit curb, and the back end just goes, Callum. Something on that exit curb does not agree with that number 69 BMW, and into driver's left he goes, hits the wall hard, bounces out, and some big front end damage there for Andy Boardman.
Very unfortunate there by Andy Boardman, and you're absolutely right, a very rare mistake. Andy Boardman is one of the most consistent people we have here at RCI. But I've been noticing with the BMWs, John, they seem a little bit squirrely on the rear. You'll see it as we come through this sort of turn 13, 14, 15 section. As they try to apply some of the power down, you do see that rear end just step out a little bit from time to time. So maybe a lot of them are running a lower rear wing setting to try and get that straight line pace down the back straight. And that has cost him into turn 19. The turn 19 is such a hard corner to get right. It's such a high speed corner, even though it's not far off 90 degrees. You know, you're downshifting once, maybe twice, just hooking that car into the left, hoping it sticks and making sure you don't run out of exit room or you'll get that crack cut. So it's a very difficult corner at the best of times. And when you're running at Andy Boardman's pace, chasing down other vehicles, you know, really giving it that maximum push, that's when that rear end can step out of you, and sadly that happens to Andy Boardman today.
Yeah, completely agree. Sometimes, you know, the BMW with its torque, very easy to spin up the rear wheels, and I'd be curious to know the TC levels that Andy Boardman's running, because it's certainly going to be very low to enable the car to do that. Race replay here, Christian Lindgren coming through the latter half of the middle sector. Martin Foster a bit slow there, and a hip and shoulder from one of the BMWs, possibly Eric Hooker there in the number 68 down that end of the field. And Christian Lindgren under pressure from Aaron Jackson, darting left and right in the Kaiju car, although one line through the left-right section of the first sector. You can see there Aaron Jackson with a tiny bit of aero wash, struggling to get the car turned in to turn 6. It's a long kind of swooping right-hander. You've really got to set the car up well for these corners, and a big armful of opposite lock as he comes through turn 10 over the inside curb. Christian Lindgren's Porsche certainly much more settled through that section, and he's sizing up a move onto Richard Whittle down into turn 11. One of the places we spoke about on the brief run through. There's a hip and shoulder from the Whittle. They don't want to get involved in this one. Christian Lindgren coming back saying, no, have some of that back at you, and this has allowed Aaron Jackson now to get the run down towards turn 12 there, 3 wide. Jackson to the outside, Lindgren to the middle, and Richard Whittle on the inside, able to fend off the Porsche. The additional 30 kilos not making it easy. Jackson's going to do both of them around the outside of 11, gets a bad around the outside of 12, sorry, gets a bad run down into 13, but still has that inside line. Richard Whittle around the outside becomes the inside, but surrenders the position to Christian Lindgren, and that all kicked off down at turn 11. Finally rears its head coming out of turn 15. Callum, it's a long old fight here at COTA sometimes. The way the corners switch back on themselves, it's so tricky to get a move delivered and kind of signed and closed off, and Christian Lindgren certainly put up a fight during that one.
Wow, John, just wow. Unbelievable racing by the three of those guys. A little bit argy-bargy down the straight, but once they get into that technical section from 12 to 15, they were outrageously clean. Very collected. Gave each other just enough room, and I really thought that Jackson was going to get the 2 for 1 there, but he was a bit more conservative into turn 13. Let those two through, and the ultimate winner was Christian Lindgren. As we go on board with Tobias Sontag here, I believe this is with a little bit of nudging with one of the Norquists, one of the Simbans Racing. That takes him up to P6. A lovely move into turn 1. He knows he's got the pace in that BMW. Now he's going to be grinding towards his teammate Honsel, which I can only imagine once they get there, maybe a little bit of team play to try and chase try and chase Kampu ahead. We could even see a bit of bump drafting if they're feeling up to it.
Yeah, potentially so. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time we see. And speaking of bumping, and Aaron
Oh,
Jackson
and Phil Mox has
into
gone
the
round.
side of, I'm not sure who that was just ahead, one of the BMWs, possibly Eric Hooker. I'm just trying to work out who that was, but Rudy Philmolter in all of that spins himself to take avoiding action. You see the white Porsche in the background there, nowhere near Aaron Jackson's fight. And it was the 999, we're being told, of Peter Lundqvist. So a little bit of battling through turn one, doors and elbows out aplenty. Lots of paint being traded in the lobby tonight. Tom Shipston, still your first car on the road. I was going to say Aaron Jackson clearing off his mandatory pit stop relatively early, not even 15 minutes into the race. And the Kaiju car has come down the lane, but big time loss coming out. And that's the thing with COTA. You have to be quite careful, because if you're coming out of the pit lane, you're going to be on that much narrower line. You're going to have faster cars on the outside swooping around, trying to take that apex, and 2 into 1, classic example there, Callum, just doesn't go.
Yeah, you think with a turn one as wide as we have here at COTA, they'd be able to give each other just that little bit more room, but we do see it with a tighter line of the pit exit and cars coming around. You do need to leave at least a car width there. It'll be interesting what the stewards say. You know, Peter Lundqvist should have been well aware there was a car coming out of the pits, decides to take the racing line, which he is of his right to do so, but that's ultimately led to an incident with Aaron Jackson, who's gone into the pits to try and get himself out of this battle that he was just having, get some clear air, comes out the pits, and the first thing he does is pick up a little bit of damage as you ride on board with the sister orange Arrow car. Phil Roberts currently running in a very respectable P11, being chased down by Christian Clipper and doing the chasing towards Nicole Fox, as Clipper is looking rather pacey here, coming into turn 11, a little bit of an outside line, maybe wants to get on the power a little bit earlier, which he does, tucks right into that slipstream, going to be going to get the benefits of that drag that he's getting, and the BMW punches a massive hole, may I add, runs to the inside. Who's going to be braver on the brakes, which will eventually come the breaking point? It looks like Phil Roberts are much later on the brakes there, but he misses the corner, and so does Clipper. Goes a little bit too deep as well, but Phil Roberts too deep into the braking zone. Clipper goes up to P11. Phil Roberts maintains P12.
Phil Roberts certainly in too deep, and that's allowed Peter Varga now into the BMW trio fight, all for P11 essentially on your screens at the moment. The 508 Team Monkey Racing entry, of course, the sister car, the number 45 Audi, towards the top end of the field as they swoop round the triple right-hander. Of course, mandatory pit stops have been done by near enough half of the field, I would say, at the moment, all the way from P20 down to P31, although Eric Hooker being the exception to that one, still yet to make his stop. And Tom Shipston is the first of your mandatory pitters on the road. So the same thing he did last time out at Zolder, tried to get that clear air and just trying to drill in those lap times. And of course, Callum, with the Porsche gaining 30 additional kilos for the round at COTA, we saw how much Christian Lindgren struggled down the back straight. So you need to really nail all of these corners, and it's almost like Christian Clipper was listening to me. He comes down the lane for his mandatory stop, although has he missed his pit box? He's completed the stop on the left-hand side and stopped in the pit lane. Got back underway though. Has he done the old Control-Alt-Delete maybe? Or maybe his chair slipped away from him, Callum? Maybe something on his rig's not right, needed tweaking. But gets back underway. P21 for Christian Clipper as he comes out into turn one into some clear air, but still that's going to be some big time loss there for Christian Clipper. Just trying to find his time down the lane. 52 seconds flat from in to out as a rough comparison from Aaron Jackson, 47.2. So we've lost about 5 seconds, whatever it is. And I'd be interested to know what actually happened there, because we can only speculate from up here in the box. So I'm putting my money on a slight adjustment for Christian Clipper on his rig.
Yeah, it could be a slight adjustment, or the old classic turn the engine off and has to stop the car in order to turn the engine on and get the car back started. Either way, he might hop into chat or towards the end of the race and lets us know what happened in that pit stop. Interestingly though, he did do a pit stop. He's dropped back down into P21, 4 positions behind Shipston, about 10-12 seconds behind, noting the slow pit stop he had. But that now tells us where Shipston is roughly sitting net pace-wise. I think with Clippert being around the Phil Roberts territory, or just past Phil Roberts, we're looking at a sort of a net P8, P7 here for Tom Shipston. So this could be another wonderful and brilliant sort of undercut strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So copy and paste of Zolder, and for sure see what happens. Tobias Sontag, just a couple of laps ago, has done the fastest lap of the race, 205.985. Track status, top right hand side, is now optimum, so we might see that purple time flying about somewhat on the left hand side of your screen. Meanwhile, Rudy Filmalter gives way to Aaron Jackson. I think that's a position change as the timing tower is outdated on the left hand side, and Aaron Jackson goes up into P23, and that brings Les Stevenson and Rudy Filmalter together, good friends outside of the racing circuit, and I believe, my eyes weren't mistaking me, they are sat in the Monday Gang voice chat. So a little bit of a more social side, should we say, of RCI. Callum, I saw you in there earlier chatting to everybody as well, as elbows out for Phil Malter and Jackson into turn 1. Monday Gang, a bit of a more social, fun side of RCI, should we say. Normally a good 10 people in there, but looking a little bit quiet tonight, which we kind of speculated to maybe everybody's starting to try a little bit harder for their championship results, should we say, here today.
Yeah, that could be the case. I was in there chatting to Rudy, Les, and Kevin. I do tend to sit in there when I'm racing in the Monday Gang as well, and it is just that wonderful sort of community we have here at RCI that we all know each other, we all race with each other week in, week out, and we do sort of have that fun and enjoyment. And I will say, when you're racing in the Monday Gang and you're chasing down a Les and you're chasing down a Rudy, it is a good laugh to sort of wind them up, try to put them off a little bit as you do, and ultimately, when you're racing with people that you race week in, week out with, you sort of know that you know the limits, you know where you can race them hard, you trust them more, and it just makes the experience a lot better as we go on board with Yao Manso chasing down Emo Plata. We know the Mercedes isn't too strong here today, so we are probably favouring the Audi in this battle. But where is it going to be stronger? The Audi usually a lot better in the corners, and the grunt of the AMG usually taking the benefits off the straight. But this is definitely a very sort of broad mix of what you can expect on a circuit. You've got the high speed, you've got the low speed, you've got the long straights. So there's plenty of opportunity to really benefit from your car's particular strengths and characteristics.
I was going to say the Audi certainly looks better into the corners. The AMG Grunt pulling it out of the corners, and Jesse Lee spotting Hatsune Miku on the side of Yao Manzo's car. Always a thing with the RPMS liveries for the Portuguese driver. There is normally an anime somewhere on the car, and Jesse Lee instantly spotting that one from our TV cameras. We do have insight to say lap 1 is incoming from our stewards, so they have sifted through. McKenna McConnell feeding us that information today, so we'll have a scout through and see what we can bring you. But if you do want to get involved with us here at RCI, like Callum says on the Monday Gang, a little bit more of the social side of things here at RCI, head on over to the website racerci.com as Nicole Fox sizes up a move on Lily Armstrong. Lots of space given there from both drivers, very respectable stuff, but Nicole Fox going to have to go the long way around of the triple right-hander, and Lily Armstrong on the much more favoured side of the road lives to fight another day. Calendar this week, of course, Friday continues our new Le Mans Ultimate Friday multi-sprint series as they head to round 3, the land of the rising sun in Fuji, Japan. And hypercars and GT3s take to the stage for 8 rounds of racing, all the way up until March 21st. And I believe 2 splits still open for this one, so plenty of space to sign up for yourself as the fight continues down into turn 1. Lily Armstrong still able to fend off and do just about enough to drive away from Nicole Fox. Saturday, we're back into the realm of ACC as the IMB 6-hour community series reaches its head in Belgium at Spa after a failed attempt last month, thanks to Kunos back-end servers going down on the day of the race. Championship still wide open between Sky Simsport, WOR, XJSM, and nearly on pace. So plenty of stuff going on there. Saturday night out this week, we'll be taking a break. That'll be back for the following week. And if you are privy to our Discord, you do have certain notifications enabled as Les Stevenson goes for a drift of the day. Very well held from the number 46 driver. But if you have notifications enabled, you would have seen a new iRacing event announced tonight. And that's with the IMSA Endurance Series, yet to be even launched on the website. So if you are listening or you are in the Discord, then you have an exclusive right here. So GTP and GT3 take to 7 races at iconic tracks across America, but there is a twist with each race being open to full season entries and also one-off team entries as well. Teams can be anywhere from a solo driver up to 4 drivers in total, with real-life trophies. I have this confirmed. Earlier on, we weren't too sure, but real-life trophies being handed out to the top 3 in each class who finish the whole season. So, of course, you have to see all of the rounds out to the end and meet the checker flag at every round across the board to be able to qualify for that. But real-life trophies, I think maybe Jesse Lee can confirm in my ears, but maybe the first time ever we've handed out real-life trophies at RCI, and outside of prize pool and being confirmed in my ears. But for a weekly series, the first time ever we're bringing trophies to the masses. And Christian Clipper, Jesse Lee thought he caught something out of the corner of his eye, but he did indeed. Very well observed. It took a while to come, but Christian Clipper around at turn 10 into the wall, reverses out, manages to get back underway, Callum, but again, big time loss for the German driver.
Yeah, and that turn 10 is brutal. You almost want to be flat out coming through turn 10 to get maximum pace into turn 11, but you hit that bump slightly wrong and you're going to lose the rear, which is exactly what happened to Christian Clipper there. A very, very unfortunate mistake, but something that does happen with turn 10 as Tobias Sontag, fastest lap and catching his teammate Hansel. Will there be a little bit of team orders in play? Is he saying, look, can I have a crack at Kumpu and Podolski? I need to get up there, I need to get involved in the fight. Or is he going to pit early, make the undercut on his teammate? Either way, these guys need to sort it out, probably in their voice chat, so they don't lose time. But, you know, they're racers, even though they're teammates and they want to do best for each other, they also want to race. They also want to have, you know, it's what we live for, regardless of, you know, whether we're in a voice chat, chatting to them. We want to be making the moves. We want to be having good, hard racing. And sometimes, especially on these weekly champs, when we are here for fun, you do want to win. But mainly, you know, here at RCI, we want to promote fun and enjoyable racing, especially in the Monday championships. And look at that. He makes the pit stop, going for the undercut. Doesn't want to inhibit Hansel in his progress. He's going to box, get some clean air, and chase down those leaders, in which it looks like he has the pace to do. You said earlier, John, the lap 1 incidents have arrived, and I'm going to read them out to you. We've got a couple of RIs between the 137 and the 13. That was on lap 1 T1, and another RI involving the 31, the 13, and the 96, which was a warning for the car 96 for avoidable contact. So they feel like Roscam could have avoided that Belmonte spin. Lap 1 turn 2 involving the 69 and the 35 was an RI for minor contact, and then we have our first 5 seconds for That was turn 11, so just before the straight. A 5 seconds for car 236. That was involving the 999, the 236, and the 255, and the 48. So a rather large crash, which we're going on board with. It seems like a lot of people involved was on board with Lundqvist. Looks like someone makes a pretty egregious dive. There's Stevenson on the outside, and it's just a little bit of a Constantina effect there. One car slows down, hits the other one, and just a classic Constantina effect that we see on lap 1. Thank you for the replay, Jesse Lee. Lap 1, turn 13, 5 seconds for the number 16 in that contact. And between 95 and the 99 on lap 1, that was the Aaron Jackson, Michael Redford. That is also 5 seconds. He's going on board with another race replay. I believe this is for one of the incidents we just spoke about. And the 16 just misjudging his braking point. That was, I believe, Christian Lindgren just coming across there and sadly being spun. So 5 seconds for the number 16 for that. We've got another host of incidents that have come through, but all racing incidents, and only one warning for the triple.
Yeah, absolutely so. You know, plenty of work being done by our live stewards, and something we always say that we don't want to be doing up here in the broadcasting booth. And running aboard here, sizing up a move down into turn 12 on Peter Varga. That, I believe, is Lily Armstrong. It is indeed in the number 88. You can tell by the fastest hands in the West on the steering wheel there. One of the few controller players still within the realm of ACC. And no idea how Lily Armstrong manages it, but apparently they also manage it within the realm of LMU as well. An even trickier game, especially when we have GTPs being told top 5 quickest last Friday. So that's a good achievement in its own, and it winds me up so much, Callum, when I'm racing against Lily Armstrong and they're ahead of me, knowing they're on a controller, you're on a wheel, you spent hundreds of pounds on equipment, and they're sat there reclining, having the best life on a controller, and still managing to beat you. Andy Boardman, round in sector 3. Not sure what's happened here, but let's catch a race replay. This is getting dicey. Clipper, Boardman, and Phil Malta. Boardman goes for the inside. Of course, the switchback nature of this section, and Boardman once again on a curb. Boardman on a curb, loses the rear end into Phil Malta. This is going to be a slightly longer replay, so we can see the aftermath. Snaps back into the quarter panel of Rudy, and Rudy into the wall as well. Very unfortunate. 2 cars being turned in the latter half of the lap. That was through turn 13, 14, and into 15, and more time loss for Andy Boardman. This one has certainly been a round to forget for the number 69.
A round to forget indeed, and where he missed round 1, performed so well in round 2. He's currently sitting P11 in the championship with 58 points. He needs to pick up these points, and this is definitely going to be one to forget, and one that will impact his championship. On board with the leaders, Kumbu just has not been able to find a way past Badowski, maybe the straight line of that Audi, or it's the ballast coming into play, where we know the Porsche is so strong on COTA, which is why we've had to apply 30 kilos, but even then, still hot on the heels, but probably feeling just that extra weight, bogging it a little bit down on exits, not being able to get the top speed that he'd like, and that's why it may be struggling to get past Badowski. Could be looking at an early pit stop for the undercut, knowing he's got the pace, but we've got an early pit stop here, and Jesse Lee's just putting up the rep stall on the back of Phil Roberts' car, who is also one of our stewards, usually here, our chief steward. And Jesse is just pointing out we now have a battle for P1. Dorba has caught up massively to Vlad Will. Maybe he made a mistake there into sector 1, as it looked like there was a bit of a gap. And all of a sudden, as we've seen in round 1, we've seen in round 2, we have a multi-battle for the lead here, John.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Dorba tucked into the slipstream of Vlad Will. Will goes defensive down into turn 12. The last of the late breakers. There's a little bit of a jink from Dorba trying to force Vlad Will on the narrow line. Dorba opens up the corner as much as he can. Goes for that swooping outside line over the anti-cut sausage curbs. That's hampered the run down into turn 13. Has to tuck back into line. But while these guys are fighting at the front, Marco Badowski slowly creeping in. With him brings Nico Kumpu in the Porsche as well. So what we thought was the top 4, top 5 spread apart for this one. They've certainly condensed themselves up into the top 3 fight, and fantastic shots on board right now from Nico Kumpu's number 256 rebound racing Porsche, and he is probably loving life right now, Callum, knowing if anything kicks off between the 3 ahead, he's going to gain somewhat. Already getting close to the back of Badowski as everybody checks up. Vlad Will at the head of the train down into turn 1. The Lumi rank board flashing, indicating that Will is the leader. Dorba tucking in. He jinks to the left, looks to the inside. Will stands on the brakes, closes the door. Badowski tries to go around the outside. Nico Kumpu makes a tidy run through turn 1. Down the hill towards the right we go for turn 2, and it's a single file through here, Callum, as Badowski has upset himself through turn 2, lost a bit of ground. That's going to bring Kumpu now back into the single file train as they head through the first sector. Up to turn 6 through 7 and towards 8 and 9 they will go, and you can see the dirty air, the Porsche at the back really struggling to get the car turned in, but equally Badowski falling foul to that one as the wake of Joe Dorba's car comes off the back, and single file they'll go once again towards turn 11, and nobody in all of that chaos has changed position just yet, and everybody concertinaing up on the brakes, and they'll go once more. We got a flash of the lights. I think that's Dorba flashing to Will, probably wants to get a move on. Glanced in the mirror, seen the train behind Badowski and Kumpu, and Vlad Will for the Almania Aachen Esports entry has pulled away down to turn 12. Doesn't have to go defensive this time by, but in the back of the mirror, of course, Dorba now comes under pressure from Badowski and Kumpu, and in the background there's a pair of headlights, and it's Honzel. Honzel is closing in on them too, and if these guys aren't careful, they're going to find themselves in an Almania Aachen Esports sandwich towards the front of the grid.
And let's not forget, Sontag has made an early pit stop and had a bucket load of pace before that pit stop. These top 4 could be fighting. We knew he was quicker than Honzel at the time. If these guys keep battling the way they're battling, we could be seeing a monster undercut from P6 all the way to P1, and there's a few people jumping into the pits. Badowski thinks better of this fight. He goes, we're losing too much time, maybe a bit of aware of what Sontag's pace is and that undercut potential, and going, no, we need to box here. I'll let those guys battle it out, and I'll make these passes in the pit stop.
Yeah, it could be a very sensible move there from Badowski, peeling himself out of the fight for the top 4. That gives Nico Kumpu a little bit of clean air to get through the first sector now without the wash across the front end. And Honzel still in the background of that shot. Phil Roberts, meanwhile, and Peter Lundqvist coming down into turn 2. Roberts tries to open up the corner, finds the nose of Peter Lundqvist alongside him, and more paint being traded between these cars. And despite representing the same manufacturer, of course, there is no kind of team or, mark championship going on at the moment. It is everybody for themselves, and Rudy Filmolter and Varga coming together. That looks like turn 12 even, going towards turn 13. Filmolter towards the outside, becomes the inside. Another little bit of paint traded. So we're going to have a fair few colourful cars here tonight, Callum, as I think we've seen pretty much every car rub another car up the wrong way at some point during the last kind of 42 minutes even.
Yeah, it's been rather interesting, John. I think there are people battling here, which we don't usually get to see battle. I think that's the nature of COTA being such a challenging track. We saw it in qualifying, probably one of the biggest sort of pace disparities that we've seen between cars as we're going on board. This is Tobias Sontag and Phil Roberts running side by side. A little bit of door contact there as they break into it, and Phil Roberts spins off of that, two sort of going for the same piece of racetrack. That'd be one for the stewards to have a little look at, but going and having a look at what sort of where Sontag is in the standings. Badowski's come out in P8. Sontag still P17. I think there's something that happened there, John, that we haven't seen. I was expecting him to be right up there, but it looks like there may have been an incident or two we haven't seen, because he is a lot further down the field than I'd expect him to be.
Yeah, just looking at Sontag's pit stop time, that's the interesting thing. Let's just have a look. This kind of all kicked off much earlier in the lap. This was Sontag and Roberts. That was turn 16 that they had a little bit of a front to rear contact there. But just looking to Tobias Sontag's pit stop timer, 1 minute 13 from in to out. And just for the record, most drivers on the field currently 47, 46 seconds. The next longest one, Andy Boardman, 1 minute 10, but we know he had that aero damage to fix earlier on in the race. We've got Kevin Boss with a 1 minute 2 as well. Again, more damage to fix for them. So it seems like Tobias Sontag has had a slightly longer pit stop than anticipated, and that's what's put him on the back foot. Whether or not he forgot to uncheck tyres or maybe had some damage on that BMW M4, time will tell, as one of the Whittles gets out of the way. I think that's Keith Whittle down the back straight away. Lets the leaders go through very sensibly, I would say, during this time. Vlad Will still heads up the field. Joe Dorber chomping at the bit just behind, trying to get past. Nico Kumpu still within arm's reach should anything go wrong. He's going to capitalise a couple of positions. Racing smart, I would say, the number 256 entry. He's not had a great haul of points from Zolder. So Callum, anything he can scrape from here is going to be a bonus. And the last thing you want to do is get involved with Dorber and Will. It all becomes undone. 3 of you come out of the race, and that's all of your points lost for tonight. Meanwhile, Nico Kumpu could just sit in the wake of Joe Dorber's car, wait for something to kick off, or just simply follow the train all the way to the checkered flag. Just under 20 minutes to go on the race. Pit window still open for just over 18 more minutes. We've still got a handful of cars to get through the lane yet, some of which include, of course, your race leaders, Richard Whittle and Partez sneaking inside the top 10. But Badowski, currently highest car on the road after the pit stops. Tom Shipston with the early strategy next in line. So should, in theory, pay off quite well for the number 60 once again today. Tom Shipston should be able to snake his way through and gain a couple more positions yet from those yet to pit.
It's a leisurely Monday drive for Tom Shipston, isn't it? You know, same thing we saw in Zolder. Bit early, go for a little practice session. Don't get involved in everything. Probably gets to see a fair bit. You know, just cars doing a bit of door banging left, right, and centre as we've seen action up and down the field. But yeah, he's just enjoying his laps around COTA, which, you know, some people don't tend to enjoy some laps around COTA, but he seems to definitely be enjoying himself as we go on board with Christian Clippert, still with a 5-second penalty to his name with Les Stevenson, and he runs into the rear of Les Stevenson there, just carrying a bit too much speed into turn 15. That turns Les Stevenson around. It looked like he hit a little bit of the curb as well. And another one for the Stewards. Yeah, just hits the curb, jumps up, goes into the rear of Les. Does wait before driving off, but I do fear that will be another penalty coming Christian Clippert's way from the Stewards.
Yeah, of course, stewards this year not, electing to see the wave by as a favour of goodwill to, reduce the penalty somewhat. That's how we used to work at RCI, but now each incident is judged at face value, regardless of, if the other driver waited, let the whole field go, put themselves a lap down even. It's not going to give you any more points with the stewards, but Christian Clippert doing the honourable thing and waiting for Les Stevenson to get back underway. And of course, this has now brought in Andy Boardman and Mike Reyes. That is Andy Boardman's car, isn't it? Just ahead. I'm not seeing things right now, am I? I'm very confused. But Mike Redford currently on the road. Andy Boardman is indeed in P21. Not used to, of course, seeing him this far down, so that's offset my mind slightly. But Christian Clippert just ahead of him, of course, 5 seconds to his name. Anybody with a red number next to their name has yet to serve their penalty, essentially. So Christian Clippert and Rudy Filmalter, their 5 seconds will be added on to the end of the race. And if you are yet to take a pit stop and inherit a time penalty, you'll of course be held for the additional time during the pit stop cycle. As Rudy Filmalter, Jesse Lee spotted something through turn 2. They go through the S's, and again the switchback nature. Rudy struggling with the Porsche. I think those tyres are at one of their worst states currently for the number 975. We know the 992 very heavy on the rear tyres, of course. Big wing, flat 6 across that rear axle, pushing the car into the floor, and with those 30 kilos of extra ballast, that's a recipe for disaster on that one.
Yeah, I'm feeling for Rudy there. He's not having an enjoyable experience in his Porsche today. But going on board with a Porsche on Porsche battle here, Olivier Curtin and Christian Lindgren, or is this Victor Nordquist? This is Nordquist he's fighting with here. Olivier Curtin on an incredible run of form here in RCI recently. Is he going to go for the outside line, late on the brakes? Will he be able to hold it around the outside? We've seen a few people go for it today. No, he's going for the switchback on Nicholas Nordquist again for the outside, probably a secondary switchback as we run through turn 14 and into 15. Nordquist is a little bit squirrely on the rear end. It looks like Olivier can't quite get side by side coming into 15, and they'll run single file through the triple right-hander into 19 and 20. Next best chance for Olivier Curtin is into turn 1 on the next lap, but this is a battle that is going to be heating up. It does seem like Olivier does have just that extra bit of pace in his Porsche right now, but we are getting to that period where he may just be using a little too much of the tyre. We know the Porsche struggles, and it's got that 30 kilos, and we can see that already with Nordquist getting a little bit happy on the rear end, but we could see Olivier, if he's pushing too much, he's going to be suffering with the tyres as well.
Yeah, like I say, Olivia, fantastic run so far through the RCI calendar that we've seen him taking on solo now. Of course, usually teamed up with his father for the endurance races, but great to see, of course, running in the family still. Apparently, Louis Curtin doing very well in LMU as well. So, back-to-back week top 5, Jesse Lee's telling us in our ears. So good to know. Good luck is running in the Curtin family, and the Kraken Engineering being represented quite well by both parties involved. But Nicholas Nordquist managing to pull away ever so slightly on this current lap, opening up the gap a couple of seconds to the good. Meanwhile, race replay for Andy Boardman, Christian Clipper and Boardman together. This is turn 12. Boardman over the anti-cut curbs on the outside. Can't quite get the inside for 13, but of course delaying the inevitable as we see Andy Boardman up the inside of turn 19 onto the brakes for 20. Christian Clipper grazing the rear quarter of Andy Boardman, and Andy goes up into P20. Les Stevenson has managed to escape up the road somewhat now. So that's 3.5 seconds to the good for Andy Boardman. Both drivers, though, 5-second time penalty, so they're going to have to get a move on, otherwise they are going to be shuffled down 5 seconds when the checker flag comes out in just over 13.5 minutes. Still no change towards the top, though. Vlad Will. Joe Dorber, though, down the pit lane for the 777 Rebound Racing Old Men entry. I know they run a junior and a seniors in the community series, and Joe Dorber taking it quite literal, getting rid of the senior part and just saying it how it is. Old Men 777 down the lane at the moment. Vlad Will allowed to go up the road. He's got a bit of traffic in the form of Kevin Boss, who stays way off the racing line, allows the number 18 to go through there. Of course, Nico Kumpu 2.7 seconds, or was back, still 2.7 seconds through the first sector. Honzel jumps up into third as Joe Dorber, of course, ends up getting cycled down the order as he leaves the pit lane for the 777. So first on the road now, Joe Dorber, I believe. Just saw a Porsche flashing through there. I think that's one of the Sim Brothers entries. It is indeed Christian Lindgren, currently on the road, yet to take his pit stop. So in theory, Joe Dorber is still ahead of Badowski by 2.7 seconds after the pit stops have rolled around. So looking very good currently for Joe Dorber on that one. And just looking towards the pit stop time, not too dissimilar. 46.8 for Joe Dorber and a 47.2 for Badowski. So no real jump there. It is just done on outright pace that Joe Dorber has managed to stay ahead of Badowski.
Yeah, maybe Badowski got involved in a little bit of sort of traffic as he got out there, but either way, the undercut hasn't quite worked. It did seem like the BMWs did just have that extra bit of race pace currently that we've seen, but in the clear air, Badowski just hasn't quite been able to pull that round. What that does look like is with Kumpu, was only 2.7 seconds off Vlad Will. Looks like Kumpu could be jumping Badowski on the overcut. We'll have to see how that one develops as the race goes on. But I do just want to call out Vlad Will and Joe Dorber quickly. P1, P2, brand new entries to the season. What an entrance into this Monday Deutschland Masters. I mean, you can't quite literally get better than this, and what a race it's been, even with the action with that top four battle at the front. But we've had battles up and down the field. Speaking of battling, we're going to a couple more stewarding reports. Andy Boardman, for that loss of control into Rudy Philmolter, has received a 5-second penalty, and the incident we saw with Christian Clipper and Les Stevenson, also into 10-15, has also received a 5-second penalty. So this is just going on board again with the incident where Boardman just losing the rear and colliding into Rudy Philmolter. Rudy Philmolter not having the best of races he's had. I know he's not a big fan of COTA anyway, and I think after today he'll most likely go in his never want to race here again book.
Yeah, not gonna lie, my last outing at COTA, not ideal. Again, that's high up in my never want to race book, so I'm glad I think I'm up here in the box with you, Callum, and not down there on the circuit as we see Tobias Sontag getting all out of shape through turn 20 just ahead. We've got Lily Armstrong. This is actually for position right now on your screens. Nicole Fox with a great view in the number 314 entry as they progress through turn 1. 2 BMWs ahead of that Porsche. That's going to be a hard ask to do, especially down the long back straight between 11 and 12. We know the Porsche not great in a straight line, and with the 30 kilos here today, not equally as good at getting off the corners as it maybe should be. Top 5 yet to pit on the left-hand side of your screen, so Joe Dorber still at the head of the field as we see Richard Whittle, I think, down the lane just briefly on the broadcast there. Everybody single file, quite neat and tidy through the first sector, down the hill towards turn 11. Nobody close enough to make a move, and it's the magic of COTA. You know, the first sector, very much single file. It's hard to make a move. If you kind of get offline, it upsets the rhythm of the next few corners as they all kind of twist and turn on each other. But now Tobias Sontag, a good run off turn 11, tucking into the slipstream of Lily Armstrong, and it looks like that car certainly has better top end than the number 88 Volkenhorst entry. Down the inside into turn 12, is there going to be a paint trade? I think both drivers keeping it clean around the outside. Tobias Sontag will have to stick it for turn 13, but he'll have to hold off, and a big door bang there from Lily Armstrong, a snap of oversteer. Maybe Sontag keeps his foot planted using all of the extra road, parks it on the apex, forces Lily Armstrong over the anti-car. That's brought Nicole Fox now into the outside line of 17 and 18 before they get towards turn 19. Fox, a big wiggle as they're not on the ideal racing line, out onto the marbles. Not too much grip there either, and Lily Armstrong holding up now Nicole Fox as Sontag is able to escape up the road into the final corner. Meanwhile, Nicholas Nordquist, another car down pit lane. They exit the lane just behind, I think, Badowski. They've done enough. Tom Shipston, though, in the background, a second to the good. Going to be on some warmer tyres than Nicholas Nordquist. Of course, as you come down the lane, stop in your box, get going again. The colder temperatures here, 17 degrees in the air, 17 down on the tarmac. I think a worn hot set of Pirellis is going to be slightly better than a worn cold set of Pirelli. So can Tom Shipston make up any ground in the early stages with Nicholas Nordquist in his sight? Of course, Porsche on Porsche action, Callum. It's very hard to try and get the advantage over your opponent, but Shipston nothing to do through sector 1, and I don't think he's going to be close enough as they get down towards the back straight.
Gibson's probably a little bit relieved to see a car to chase, to be honest. He's been driving by himself for the past 52 minutes. Finally sees a car come out the pits. He goes, oh, finally, I've got someone to race. And let's not forget about Olivier Curtin, who was battling Nordqvist in the first stint. Nordqvist is now pitted. Gibson's right up there behind Nordqvist. When Olivier Curtin comes out, we could be looking at a three-way fight here for that sort of P4, P5 position, which 3 Porsches fighting at COTA seems a very exciting prospect for the end of the race. Going aboard, or back on board with Nicole Fox and Lily Armstrong. These guys have been fighting all race long. We saw it in the first stint. Nicole Fox just couldn't find a way past Lily Armstrong. Lily Armstrong absorbing every ounce of pressure that's been applied there. Probably very happy to have Tobias Sontag in between them two. That was sadly short-lived, and we go right back to, business as usual. Nicole Fox right on the heels of Lily Armstrong, applying that pressure, but really feeling the effects of that 30-kilo ballast today.
Yeah, certainly trying to get onto the back of Lily Armstrong, should we say, but the BMW a little bit more favoured in the BOP. The Porsche running slightly heavy today as Les Stevenson finds himself behind Barthez in the number 195, and this is going to be for P17 if Les Stevenson can get by, and the Porsche looks certainly a better car at the moment. Goes to the outside of turn 19, going to be the long way around. Can Les make it stick? He tries it, he keeps it within track limits, and to the outside he will go, and the move is delivered by the time they get to turn 20. And I think Barthez choosing his fights very wisely there. I would say maybe working together with Les Stevenson, but move done for the number 46. Up into P17 they will go, and tries to cover off a little bit into turn 1 as he stood on the brake, turning towards the apex. Vlad Will still out front, 4 seconds to the good now, dropping off from Nico Kumpu. Kumpu struggling to keep with the number 18 BMW. The Almania Aachen Esports car will come down the lane, promoting Nico Kumpu up into P1 very briefly. Honsel pits with the sister car, the number 35, and Olivier Curtin next in line, the number 38 entry. Will they come down the lane, or will they brave another lap out in the Porsche? They're going one more with the Porsche. 3 minutes 10 on the clock, so you've got enough time for one more technically, and we'll have to see, will the overcut work for Nico Kumpu, or will the earlier turnaround for the Almania Aachen Esports entries work? And it looks like Will has lost a lot of time in the pit lane. His teammate all the way in the mirror, and we will get a pit stop timer as they cross the exit line of the pit lane, and they do so. Vlad Will 51.8, Marcus Honsel 46.8, another time loss for the Almania Aachen Esports car, and that brings Badowski into the fray now, side by side through turn 2. Badowski isn't going to give this one up. He smells the blood in the water. He knows the tyres are colder on that BMW. He tries to get it alongside through the S-bends, but the BMW is just that much more settled, and Badowski has to settle in behind. Finds himself in a sandwich of the BMWs once again, but I don't think Badowski is going to give this one up. Callum, 3.5 minutes on the clock. Can he get another position away from the Almania camp?
Wow, John, we've got some late drama here. The pit stops, or the slow pit stop by Vlad Will, has promoted Joe Dorber into the net lead of the race, and we've got Badowski on much warmer tyres hunting down this BMW. Vlad might be a little bit flustered from that late pit stop, maybe a bit frustrated that he's had a little bit of a slow stop. He knows he's going to be punished from that. We're going to see Kumpu and Olivier Curtin probably boxing this lap. Where they come out is, well, sort of anyone's sort of speculation here, probably around sort of this Vlad Will, Marco Badowski fight. Joe Dorber has been the ultimate winner in here, pits a little bit early, currently finds himself net P1 with a 3-second gap to Vlad Will. He just needs to drive to the finish now. He's absolutely loving this, and we do see Nico Kumpu coming into the pit lane, Olivier Curtin coming into the pit lane. They'll have 1, maybe 2 laps to circulate after this. That actually looked quite tight on the pit line there from Olivier Curtin. God, once again, we're coming right down to the wire, John, in this Deutschland Master Series, and it's just been completely shuffled around.
Yeah, we think it's all wrapped up, don't we, by the time we get halfway through the race. Joe Dorber coming down out of the last turn across the start-finish line. Live gaps on the left-hand side of your screen. Look out for the Porsche on the right-hand side of your screen coming out the pit lane. I think Joe Dorber has done just about enough. It looks like Nico Kumpu only just accelerating up the hill. It's going to be close between Kumpu and Vlad Will as they go through turn 1, and Kumpu just about comes out ahead of the number 18 BMW. So the slow stoppers cost Vlad Will not only 1 position but 2, and of course Badowski just in the back of shot as well. 1.5 seconds to the good. A small mistake from Will promote Badowski up into the bottom step of the podium. And just as you think it's all over, like you say, Callum, drama in the late stages of the race. The pit window closes, 1 minute 30 on the clock to go. We've got this lap and another one to go. Joe Dorber 2.6 seconds out to the good. Nico Kumpu out of the pit lane, desperately working temperature into those Pirelli tyres as they come down towards the back straight. Boardman and Partes being flagged up on our tool as Boardman parks the car on the apex. Partes maybe not expecting that one, and into the back of the number 69 car they go. But I'm interested to see, has Nico Kumpu survived the main straight, the back straight even? He has just about fended off Vlad Will into the turn number 12. As we get a screen wipe, getting rid of the replay overlay, able to see the drivers' names once again in the bottom right hand side of your screen. Marco Badowski just in the back of shot. Hansel, though, don't discount him. He's still within, you know, earshot should something kick off between these top kind of, I would say top 4, but of course Joe Dorber out front now, 2.9 seconds to the good. He's timed his pit stop perfectly, and he's just managed to, you know, keep it on the straight and narrow. And one thing I'm surprised about, Callum, I've only seen 1 drive-through pop up during this whole time.
Is it 1 drive-through? I was going to mention, but I didn't want to throw in a commentator curse here. I thought there was no drivers here as we go on board with the race replay. I think that's Olivier Curtin lapping Keith Whittle, having a bit of a door bang there into turn 1. Olivier Curtin jumps Nicholas Nordquist in the pit, so he's currently sitting P6. Another brilliant race for him, but it's all about this lead. Well, not the lead battle, the battle for P2. Kumpu is probably screaming on tyres right now, screaming for some straight line pace. Joe Dorber is sitting there like, just could do another Monday drive. This is just a final lap for a very well raced and like good sort of racing IQ from a racing IQ perspective here. Sorry for Joe Dorber, as Nicole Fox makes a last, or not the last, but one of the last efforts. She's going to have a go on Lily Armstrong. This is Tobias Sontag all over Emo Plata. We're on the last lap. Battles are still running up and down the field. None of these positions are secured yet, John.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the Deutschland Masters. Just as you think it's kind of all over, everything starts like rearing its head in the dying stages of the race. Nico Kumpu, 1 more straightaway to fend off Vlad Will, and I think Vlad Will is just a little bit too far back to make a move stick, and very confident on the brakes into turn 12, certainly closed up the gap, but Nico Kumpu keeping it on the straight and narrow, keeping it tidy, making sure he's hitting all his points, apexes and exits. You can see the grip that Vlad Will is struggling to fight right now. Lots of opposite lock as they come through the slower turns. Kumpu misses the apex of 16 a little bit, brings Vlad Will into the fight, but I think Kumpu has done just about enough as we hit to the penultimate corner, turn 19. Joe Dorber, rebound racing old men, and they do say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and certainly well done to Joe Dorber. He has shown these young guns how it's done. First entry of the Deutschland Masters and first win for Joe Dorber here at the Circuit of Americas. Nico Kumpu comes through in second. Vlad Will, a very close third. Marco Badowski, P4. The hat-trick has been ruined, and Hansel comes through in P5. Not done yet, though. Tobias Sontag, 1 last-ditch effort on Emo Plata, and not close enough down into the final turn. Sontag will settle for P8. I would say P10, but it's P11 as the timing board updates over the line. Tobias Sonntag, though, fastest lap of the race. So crucial to note, some bonus points thrown into the German's pocket. 3 extra points on top of his score, as lots of battles have finally reared their head. Of course, Armstrong and Fox next in line. We've got Les Stevenson and Andy Boardman, and Les has caught the back of Boardman. 5-second penalty to Andy Boardman promotes Les up into P17. He hasn't even had to do it on the track tonight. He's just had to get close enough. And as we spoke about drive-through penalties, a late drive-through penalty from Partes in the penultimate corner, and that's going to be added time plus 30 on to his race. So that's going to drop him down definitely quite a few places. We'll bring you that when we get to the pit lane once everybody has crossed the line. Rudy Filmalter, though, Martin Foster, he has managed to catch. And again, I don't think the number 975 is close enough to put a move down into the final corner. Foster's just got to get the power down, and he does so towards the line over the timing gate, and 2 more cars circulating in the form of Kevin Boss and Bruno Teixeira. And Boss comes across the line. Not an ideal start, Callum. Big impact on the exit of turn 1, and saw it out to the end. So honourable mention for the Never Giving Up award for tonight. And Bruno Teixeira across the line makes your final car to finish tonight at COTA. And just as we thought it was all over, it all kicked off, and even down to the dying stages. Partes with a late drive-through penalty as well.
Yeah, I don't know what to say, John. We're 3 for 3 here for absolute bangers of races here at the Deutschland Masters, as we've got the results on screen. Joe Dorber, a well-deserved win here at round 3 at COTA of the Deutschland Masters. Nico Kumpu bouncing back from that disconnect in Misano to get P2. Vlad Will, newcomer, as well as Joe Dorber to the championship with a solid performance, but will be frustrating for him in P3. Badowski takes P4 and Honsel in P5. That's the top 5, John. It's just been battles up and down the field. One that I'm most definitely going to be rewatching once we're done here.
Yeah, certainly another broadcast to throw into the list of ones to watch back on. I think that's 3 for 3, as you said, Callum. It's been an absolute banger of a race. Of course, Nürburgring round 1, Zolder round 2, and COTA for round 3. And still 2 more rounds to go on the calendar with the Deutschland Masters, and one of which I'm very much looking forward to. That's the final round as we head to the Nürburgring 24-hour layout. Next week, we find ourselves at Suzuka. Again, that's going to be another 1-hour sprint race there, and a much brighter COTA being brought to you on the B-roll at the moment, as Joe Dorber joins us in the box, race winner of tonight. Joe, we've seen you in the YouTube chat for a few weeks, getting involved with us up here in the box, and I guess you thought, you know what, I'm going to get involved in that. And judging by your team name, maybe one of the older drivers on the grid, certainly showing the younger guys tonight how it's done.
Yeah. I wanted to join earlier in the championship, but I've had to go to the UK for a few weeks. So first time back in the rig, and yeah, quite a good result.
Say absolutely so. I mean, Marco Badowski dominant for the first couple of rounds, and even Vlad Will tonight in the number 18, a bit of a curveball. Both of you guys signing up, of course, a bit late for the season, but managed to break away from it all. You sat in that awkward kind of top 4 ground for the majority of the race, and I think you just had the most perfect timed pit stop. You came down the lane, nailed the stop, back out again, and just managed to jump everyone to the head of the field.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd messed up the pit stop, actually, because I've never driven this car before, so it was the first time I've done a pit stop in it, and I was kind of slow into the pits, but then I had a few clear laps with minimal mistakes, so yeah, managed to pull out a little bit of a gap, and luckily it was enough with my teammate closing me down in the last lap or so.
They just quickly look to your pit stop time. Of course, Nico Kumpu, teammate, different manufacturer. 46.6 for Nico Kumpu from in to out. 46.8 for yourself, Joe. So although you thought it was a bit slow, Terrible. Point 2. Horrible. How did you not lose the race?
It could have made all the difference, couldn't it? You know. But,
yeah, sometimes it does come down to the smallest margins in racing as to what we know. Suzuka next week, Nürburgring the round after. Any particular 2 that you're looking forward to?
I hate Suzuka. It just feels really, really slippy to me. But it's Nordschleifer, isn't it? The last race.
Yeah,
so,
24.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm in the boat with you. And Suzuka does feel a bit slippy. I also feel that in ACC. I'm glad it's not just me. Callum, anything you want to say to Joe before we let him get on for tonight?
No, just congratulations on an incredibly well-run race. At what point, or when the sort of Vlad and company pitted, were you surprised that they came out behind you, or were you really confident sort of the pace that you were setting in that undercut, that was something you're confident with, that you were going to sort of get?
I had Nico Kompu on the voice, and he mentioned that he was being held up by a bump marker, so I thought, oh, maybe there's a chance here. But yeah, I was surprised that Vlad came out. I think he was about 4 seconds behind. And then I messed up the next corner, and he suddenly was 3 seconds behind. But yeah, I wasn't massively surprised, but I was grateful, I would say.
Yeah, and then final question for me. I know you're an avid person in sort of the RCI chat, but also Les Stevenson's stream chat. So how much of this win do you attribute to Les Stevenson?
Well, Les was pointing out I'm one of the dirtiest drivers in RCI. I was trying to give him in practice. I was trying to give him a bit of a bump draft down the straight, and I may have murdered him a little bit. So yeah, I have to give some of the credit to him, I guess.
That's all right. Les deserves it.
Joe, just before we let you get off, anybody you'd like to say thank you to while we've got you here on the broadcast?
Just the Rebound Racing guys, Nico, Thibaut, Carlos, for keeping me amused during the race on voice.
So shout out to those guys. It's all about the team effort indeed. Joe, congratulations once again. Race win in the bag, destroying Badowski's chance of a hat-trick. And we hope to see you at round 4. Maybe you can get another win under your belt there.
Hopefully. We'll see. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
Joe Dorber, everyone, tonight's race winner, and it's been an action-packed banger once again, as you say, Callum. Deutschland Masters, never ceases to amaze us, and as you see on your screens here, 3 wide down into turn 12 at one point. So if you have been with us, it's been great to have you along, and if you're watching back, as I know many of you do, again, great to have you on the replay. A big shout out to everybody at home joining us along the way. Of course, none of this would be possible, and again, without the drivers putting on a fantastic show for us as well. Big mention to the live stewards casting their eye over all the chaos here tonight, and an equally big mention to Jesse Lee for capturing everything to bring you all the scenes to Twitch and YouTube. And of course, a big thank you to our partners, bottom left-hand side of the screen. They've been revolving around all night. Of course, AK Esports, a long-standing partner, I would say at this point, with us here at RCI, not only providing premium esports services and equipment, but also our server solutions here at RCI. Coach Dave Delta, faster lap times, of course, start with Delta. Be sure to check them out in the link down below. Greenman Gaming, where you can, of course, buy exclusive games, keys, awesome bundles, and even new titles such as Assetto Corsa Evo, and I believe Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was even on there as well. You can find our affiliate link down below in the description. A partner of us here on the RCI broadcast, but also our community series, it's IMB Racewear, for providing fully custom designs to allow sim and real-life racers to make the impact they've always wanted in their apparel. Be sure to check them out down below. Motor Racing joined us last year. Again, a leader in high-quality sim racing gear, having everything you need to boost your racing experience. Another affiliate link down below if you're looking to treat yourself this year. And lastly, but no means least, we are a Motorsport UK esports recommended community as well. So be sure to check them out for their membership offerings, where I believe you can get an iRacing discount with your paid yearly membership on that one. This week, of course, LMU continues on Friday as they head to round 3 at Fuji in Japan. Saturday, the IMB 6-hour community series reaches its head in Spa, and a new iRacing event also announced tonight with the IMSA Endurance Series. That's only been mentioned in Discord and on the broadcast, so if you're listening in, you've got a bit of an exclusive insight into that one. GTP and GT3 take to 7 races at iconic tracks across America, but with a twist, with every race being open to full season entries or also one-off entries as well. Teams can be anywhere from a solo driver up to 4 drivers, and for the first time in RCI weekly history, real-life trophies being handed out to the top 3 in each class who finish a whole season. So that's a championship trophy rather than a round trophy. Keep your eye on the website for that one, racerci.com. Down below, find all of our links, social media, Discord, website, and of course all of our partners as well. But it is unfortunately that time. We do have to say our goodbyes. You can join us once again on RCI TV on Friday when we bring you the Le Mans Ultimate Sprint from Fuji in Japan. And if Monza was anything to go by, that was certainly chaos. So we hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, and we hope to see you once again on RCI TV. Take care.